evening, everyone. This is Mike Redman, the host of the Around the Ballpark podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today as we continue talking about the game of baseball that we love, highlighting a different team each and every week. Continued thank you support on YouTube and Spotify, especially, and wherever you get your podcast, supporting our channel. Currently, as we speak, at 80 subscribers on YouTube. That is awesome. Couldn't do it without you. And speaking of which, couldn't do it without my other half, my co-host, Darren Redman, who is here with us today, of course, and he's going to introduce our special guest.
So basically, just call me Sebastian Cabot because it's a family affair, right? For those of us who are the age of myself and our guest, we know who that is. Some of you are going, well, what are you talking about? It's a family affair. And I'm just being inundated with people named Michael. I have my brother here, Michael Redman, and I have my uncle, Michael Flack. And first of all, half a serious note. I want to, again, thank you for your service. Michael fought in Vietnam, was there in Vietnam. And, we're old enough now that when we were younger, the older people were the ones who fought in World War II. And now it's Vietnam, right? And thank you for your service. So, we're going to talk Yankee baseball here today, and we might have a frozen screen there for a second, which is fine. Either that or I just shocked them. But Michael, you know what I want to do? Do you know what today is, right?
Yes, but you tell the listeners.
I see that means you don't know. No, I'm kidding. Today is April 14th, and which means tomorrow is tax day, right? Unless you're in a couple of states like Massachusetts, where I live now, because tomorrow's Patriots Day here in Massachusetts. But I want to tell you a little information about our sponsor. Would you like that, Michael? Mike, would you like that?
I would love it. And I'm sure with one day left, this is crunch time for all those tax professionals, but you're going to get into it, I'm sure.
And by the way, a lot of you out there, for no reason, nothing bad, I'm sure that you're filing extensions or there's other stuff you need to do. So the need goes on and on, for Nashville Tax Solutions, who are our sponsor. But we love them. Did you know, Michael, that in the heat of Palm Bay, Florida, where the ocean meets the sky, there's a place where tax worries go to die. Did you know that?
Absolutely. I mean,
okay,
didn't know that.
So whether you need to file years of missing taxes, because sometimes that happens, right? You look under your couch, and oh, there they are. Or current year's return, or you need relief of from a tax lien, which is horrible, or a levy. Nashville Tax Solutions has a solution for you. Introducing Nashville Tax Solutions, your a trusted partner in tax resolution. At Nashville Tax Solutions, we understand that the stress and the confusion that tax problems, and by the way, this is very serious stuff for you kids playing at home. It's not fun when you have that kind of stress of tax problems. Nashville Tax Solutions will partner in this resolution. Nashville Tax Solutions, they understand the problems and the confusion that tax problems can bring, and that's why they're there to offer clarity, relief, and peace of mind. The expert tax team and tax professionals are dedicated to providing personalized solutions that are tailored to your unique situation. And if you're listening on Spotify, you're not seeing me point my finger, but you are if you're on YouTube. Listen to what a few people who are saying about Nashville Tax Solutions. One person recently had the pleasure of working, with Christopher Bennett, the owner of Nashville Tax Solutions, and he said that he was so amazed at the knowledge and expertise in tax matters, and it was so truly impressive. It was that he was able to provide a clear and concise explanation of the process. Chris's professionalism and attention to detail were evident throughout the whole process, and it made him feel confident. And by the way, less stress. Stress is a horrible thing. Nashville Tax Solutions saved this person from potential financial nightmare. Nobody wants that. So they're just not experts in tax resolution. they're compassionate people too. So it's not just that you're just a number, you're a person, you're an individual, and that's a good thing. Don't let the tax problems weigh you down. Contact National Tax Solutions today and let them guide you toward a brighter financial future. Please call National Tax Solutions at 615-502-2250 and check out the website at nashvilletaxsolutions.com or send an email at info@nashvilletaxsolutions.com. Nashville Tax Solutions, where tax resolution is achieved.
Thank you, Darren. And one thing while we're on that subject, I'd like to just point out we're talking about taxes, and taxes probably pretty high for this fun statistic. Those of you that watch along with the show know that sometimes we like to highlight some fun facts about the stadium. So of course, today we're talking about the New York Yankees. Just a fun fact, the New York Yankee Stadium number 3, and we'll kind of get into that discussion. Some of you think there's 2, there's actually 3. But stadium number 3 that opened in 2009, it's actually the most expensive baseball stadium in the world, costing $1.5 billion to build. Taxes on that have to be astronomical. But with that said, Michael, we're glad to have you on here today. And one thing I thought we would do first is just kind of just give us a little background about yourself, your fanhood of the Yankees, and then we'll kind of dive into it a little bit.
Okay. Let's see. Well, I'm 77. So like I said before, I probably started following the Yankees. I grew up in the Bronx. Let's start there. I grew up in the Bronx and always loved baseball and started going to the Yankee games probably when I was 10. But been following the Yankees ever since. Seemed like I told people,
got a little bit of frozen
I seen
screen.
the good, the bad, and the ugly. In the 60s, when the late 50s, when they were great with Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris and all those less players that weren't well known. It was really a really great team. And then, of course, then they got bad. Then they got really bad. And then, of course, when George bought the team, they improved up until now. And I've been very fortunate. Been to playoff games, World Series, seen them won in '96. So I've been very fortunate. And like you mentioned before, a lot of games that, middle game during the season. But if something happened in that game that you don't.
We got a little pause there again, folks. This is what happens with weather, and so bear with us. You're driving or you're just sitting there. Sip of coffee and you'll be fine. We'll get with the frozen screen. I got to tell you, and you're back. You're back. We missed the last, say, maybe 10 to 15 seconds of what you were saying there, Michael.
Different stadiums?
Yeah, probably the last 15 seconds of what you were talking about. We probably missed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said
No.
about this. They say you never know what's going to happen in baseball. You could be at a game, it's a mid-game, they're not playing a good, but something will happen during that game that all of a sudden you don't forget it. I guess 4 or 5 years ago, we were at afternoon game, the Yankees and the Rangers. Yankees losing 8-0. Jason, my son, let's go. Oh, we ain't going. Yankees come back and win, and I'll walk off by Posada. So even though it was a midweek game,
That's right.
it's it's just like, wow.
But you didn't have these memories, and I was fortunate enough, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but because my question has to do with something you brought up just now. But I'll wait what I was going to say to this piece. You mentioned how the Yankees were good forever. They were just great. I mean, every year, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. And it wasn't just, they were just great. They just had great players, knew how to win. They had great managers, and just on and on and on. What happened after when they got rid of Casey Stengel? I mean, what happened from 64 to 75? Because their jump down was quick.
Well, 64, they lost to the Cardinals.
Yes.
And I think that was a change after that, because they fired their manager and they hired the Cardinal manager. And that was kind of 65. Then it started going downhill. Because they lost the World Series in 63. Then they lost the World Series in 64.
Right.
So,
They were still making the World Series. And funny thing is, that 64 team that lost to the Cardinals had Roger Maris on it. He was playing right
yes.
field by that time for the Cardinals.
Yep.
You know? And but what happened? Was there a change of ownership?
Players got old and they never changed anything.
Gotcha.
You know, the players started getting older. And that was basically, I think, the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think even Mickey Mantle said that after the 65, he said he was so disappointed because he wanted to win for the manager, Harvey Keene, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just not in the cards, and they were bad for a while.
Yeah, but then I tell you, George came in. Listen, I'm a lifetime Met fan, right? But I think every franchise should be run like the Yankees have been run. Class act all the way. I don't like the funky uniforms. I think the pinstripes, the grays, that's the way to go. Clean, neat, let's go. You know what you're getting, class all the way.
There's one thing I got to say about, no number on the back, right?
Right.
So, okay, now my son he used to like Ricky Henderson, right?
Sure.
Ricky Henderson wore 30.
Mm-hmm.
So if he wore a Henderson jersey and he bought one, now there's so many different guys that wore 30. But if you don't
Right.
put the name, if he had the name on the back, people would say, "Oh yeah, Ricky Henderson." I met a guy in a casino. He had a Sheffield jersey on, right?
Right.
I said to him, "Sheffield." I said, "Oh," I said, "My son and I were talking about that." He says, "Oh, I met him a few times. He's a real nice guy. His brother or somebody knows him, so
Right.
that's why he put the name on the back." So sometimes you think different players you like through the years, maybe they weren't stars, but you kind of like that player.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
so
So
it's kind of like, I understand, like I have a Judge jersey. Okay, no name. Of course, certain players, especially if it's not a great, well-known player, their favorite player. So this guy, this is the player he likes.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. And so one thing I would like to kind of, in terms of where we are in the conversation, we're talking about some great memories and whatnot. So I thought it'd be fun. I jotted down 6 games here in particular, and I'm kind of mention them one by one. If you can just give a quick, whatever first comes to mind of that memory of that game, whether you watched it live. Obviously, some of these, not so much. But I'll start with this. Here's a fun one. Okay, October 1st. 2 different times on October 1st, perhaps 2 of the most popular Yankee game memories in history happened on October 1st. First of which, of course, 1932. You were there. No, I'm kidding. Babe Ruth called his shot. Of course, everyone knows about that one. Almost coming up on 100 years on that, which is crazy. So starting with that one, just kind of from what you've heard about that. And then number 2, also on October 1st, Roger Maris hits number 61 back in 61. So thoughts on those 2, I guess, kind of starting with those 2.
Might be stuck again.
Just what you read in the clips you saw. Roger Maris, I was watching it on TV, and the guy caught the ball, I think $500 or something, but it wasn't a sellout.
No.
That, like, when I see clips of it, even today, God, they didn't sell out. Now, like when Judge was going for all those home runs, stadium was packed every night.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. So Darren, what about this one for you? We'll stay in the 70s here. Back on October 18th, 1977, Reggie Jackson, 3 home runs in that game. Any memories of that one you'd like to share?
Yeah, the fact that it was 3 different pitches and only on 3 pitches. He did it on three pitches and did it against 3 different pitches. What people don't realize is next year when they played again, he had another home run. That was just a great game, and you know what I remember? You remember the weirdest things, right? Because I'm watching that. And I remember Keith Jackson, who was a legend, he was a legend. And I remember Howard Cosell cutting him off with the home run call on Reggie's third home run.
Yep.
And
right.
I remember Tom Siegel was in the booth that night as well.
Yes. Good stuff.
How about you?
So, and then Michael also too, here's one for you. I got June 17th, 1978. Ron Guidry, 18 strikeouts in one game. That's another one. Anything you want to share about that one?
He's freezing again, but wait a minute.
He's deep in thought is what's going on.
Yes, he's deep in
He's
thought.
just chewing on it. He's yeah.
I remember watching it. I remember the crowd getting a little like that. Yeah, I remember watching it, but not too much other than that, watching it.
Just watching it.
But I'll tell you what, if I can, because again, you know, it was Channel 9 for the Mets, Channel 11 for the Yankees. So baseball was on every night. I remember, and tell me if I'm wrong, Michael, that's really where the two-strike clap started. Because when he'd get two strikes at somebody, the fans would start clapping. I just remember that. I remember he used to also take a deep breath, and then he would throw that nasty like slop, and just nobody could hit it. And I think were they playing the Angels? I forget who they were playing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't remember my own kids' names. And look at this. This is a horror show.
And there's a few more, but I'm going to stop with one more here. So perhaps the most popular one, I guess you could say. And I wanted to mention, so back in, I believe it was 77, I believe it was, Chris Chambliss, the walk-off. And the fun thing about that one, because the game had actually, if I remember from, you know, it's a little before my time, but the game had been stopped several different times, if I'm not mistaken. There were beer bottles, firecrackers, beer cans, rolls of toilet paper. It's a hot mess everywhere. And then that walk-off happened. Memories, thoughts of that game?
That was incredible. Watching it on TV, going crazy when he hit the home run, but you're right. I think that was like when you're having a lot of problems in the South Bronx, kind of like the Bronx is burning.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been around Son of Sam.
Yeah, Son of Sam was right the following summer. Yes.
Following some 78. So, okay. Yep.
Yes. So I got two quick ones for you, Michael, if you don't mind, because seriously, these are ones that have really, like, for a long time I thought about. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, so when did it go from a Ballantine blast to Schaefer?
I don't remember that. I remember Valentine play. I don't remember going to Schaefer because
Schaefer, like the Mets were Rheingold and the Yankees was Schaefer.
Rheingold was the Met beer, right?
Right.
And Valentine was the Yankee beer. I guess maybe when Mel Allen left.
Maybe. And then came back, right?
Yep. And he did. Yeah, a lot of people said Mel Allen got fired for drinking, whatever. But one of the books I read, when Mantle and Maris were going for the record, Mantle had gotten sick. He got the flu.
Right.
So Mel Allen says, I know this doctor. He treats a lot of celebrities.
Right.
And he recommended Mantle to the doctor. Mantle got the shot, and that's when he got the infection.
Right. Right.
So,
so that's why he got fired.
He couldn't finish the season.
Yeah. You know, but yet he ended up coming back with Sports Channel, you know, being their announcer for the Yankees for a while. And that was the second thing. Well, actually, there's three things I want to talk to you about. So let's stay in the 60s. I remember going to a Yankee game with you and with my dad, with our dad, when the monuments was still in the outfield. Yeah, when did they take those away?
When they refurbished the stadium.
Wow. That was wild. That they were literally monuments in the outfield. People don't believe that, but they were.
Yeah. And you could hit a 500-foot shot and it'd be caught.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
It's true.
That place was so vast.
Now, I don't remember too much of the 60s as I was not here at the time. But you mentioned Monument. One thing I'd like to just throw on those that may not know, at Yankee Stadium, they actually have a Monument Park tribute to the players and the legends and moments in Yankees history. So for me, that was my way of kind of, because I wasn't quite there in the 60s, but that was my way of kind of learning some of that history in person, which was exciting. So just wanted to throw that in there.
And
Do you think,
go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, do you think the Yankees have too many numbers retired? I just want to throw that question out.
That's a great. I was going to ask you that question. It's a great question. Michael, you go first. Mike, you go
Yeah, I
first.
think not in our lifetime, but it is kind of funny to think like there could be a time in history where we're seeing like the spring training numbers on a regular season game, or I mean, it's hard to predict that much in the future, but like, could we see a 0-1-3 instead of a 13? I don't know, but at this pace, yes, I think so. Obviously, there are not going to be as many numbers retired, now as there might have been. But you bring up a great point. I don't know what the exact total number is right now, but it's probably it's definitely the most, I would say. Correct? Probably for any
Correct.
team. Okay, yeah.
And it's to me, it's like they went overboard. They should have maybe like almost like the
Agreed.
Cowboys, a ring of honor. You don't get your number retired, but there's a kind of a little plaque for you or whatever.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Because one of the hard decisions with that is you look at, like, to me, if a number's retired, it's got to be length of performance. Sometimes
For
we
some of
look
the
at a
players
small
that,
period of time and the monster stats that might have been put up, but it was a 5 or 6 year window versus someone who did it for twice that long. So that's something that I would have to dig in a little bit deeper, but I wonder how many of those retired numbers really didn't have the longevity that others did. So
that's,
you know.
I mean, that's like Reggie,
Right.
5 years.
5 years. 5 years. Dave
Roger
Winfield.
much as I love Roger Maris,
Yep.
same thing.
Yep.
Not a lot of years with the Yankees. Certain players who their careers weren't, that long, but
I'm a huge Reggie guy. Always have been. But you cannot compare him with, Ronald Rivera. You can't. You can't
Right.
compare. Rivera's number should be retired. Thurman Munson's number should be retired.
right.
I mean, of course, Babe Ruth, Luger, but there are too many others that, it becomes just like the Hall of Fame, right? The Hall of Very Good. So I'm a big believer in the Ring of Honor. I truly am. I mean, I'll give you one that people are going to hate me, right? Our brother Tom went to the Met game today, and I love Dwight Gooden. He had a no-hitter with the Yankees, and he won a championship with the Mets, won a championship with the Yankees. But to me, his number should not be retired.
Right.
Because you were there 5 years and did a lot of coke. I mean,
Right.
and I love him. Don't get me wrong, I love him, and he should be in the Ring of Honor. But your number retired? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Keith Hernandez had to wait 25 years plus. And I think he did a lot more for that franchise. But that's a different subject. So the other question I had for you is not getting spiritual or religious here, but is it only people talk about Vince Scully and Dodger and and God must be a Dodger fan. But what are the odds? Mike, you're the pastor. Right? I'll put you on the spot, fun spot. What are the odds? And Michael, I'd like for you to talk about this day. What are the odds where they're honoring Don Larsen's perfect game?
Oh God.
And they get Don Larsen in the booth, and they get Yogi Berra to show up because Yogi was his battery mate. And I'm getting goosebumps.
I know.
And then what happens? David Cohen throws in a perfect game. What are the odds? What was that like?
Well, I mean, that's like I was saying. I mean, of course, I wasn't at the game, but you go to a game, okay, David Cohen is pitching, okay,
Right.
and all of a sudden you see a perfect game. It's like, wow, I've never seen it. Many games I've been to, I've never seen a no-hitter.
Right.
You?
No, I've never been to a no-hitter.
So I went to one hitter. I was actually in Tampa. It was Mets Rays, and the first inning, there was a play that was ruled an infield hit in the very first inning. Should have been an error, and that was the only hit of the entire game. So that was as close as I got on my end.
Wow, that's close.
Yeah,
And then
I think it was the knuckleballer was pitching for the Mets at the time. His name
Who
escapes me right now.
Yeah, he won a Cy Young.
Yeah,
He ended up going to Toronto, and I forget his name right now as well.
yeah,
Dickey?
but he started in his
Yes,
late 30s with the Mets.
Dickey.
Dickey,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, I was a
So,
big fan of his. So
yep.
now people say that lightning can't strike twice, right? So you have that situation, right? And now this is something else that happens at Yankee Stadium. Only with Yankee Stadium. Phil Rizzuto Day. They
Yeah,
bring Phil Rizzuto out. He almost gets knocked down by a cow. In fact, he got knocked down by a cow, right? Right. And what else? Tom Seaver's pitching and gets his 300th victory
yep,
in New York. What
yep.
was that like?
Yeah. It's, again, it's amazing. Karma, like, I guess, right?
Right, yeah.
I think Jim Perry, Gaylord Perry, I think he got
Yeah,
his 300th win too.
yes, he did with the Yankees.
And uh
Phil
Cle-
Niekro as well.
Clemens, I was there for that
Yes.
one.
Oh, nice.
I had tickets for a game and it got rained out. So my son said, "Oh, try to get tickets for the Yankees because I think they were playing the Cardinals because Tino Martinez was coming back."
Mhm.
So I got the tickets. We went to the game and he won his 300. But again, it's just fate, So everybody's mad at the game like something happened that you never expected.
So Michael, Mike, I'm sorry, I asked too many questions here, but you go
Go ahead.
next. It's just good because this one might be the before your time stuff, right? And I'll call it that, but they'll get into the stadiums. But for those people who are a lot younger than Mike, who, by the way, is not a young man anymore, in his 40s, just saying, right? So, explain to the people or baseball fans and watch and listen to this, the tenacity and greatness as a leader that Thurman Munson was. I'm a Met fan, but Thurman was my guy.
Yep, that's
I
right.
still cry.
He was an amazing leader and deserved to be captain and they would have won more championships.
Oh yeah.
He didn't take nothing from anybody, even
No.
his own teammates. He'd straighten them out you know, and it's just tragic the way it ended. And just when I think that him and Reggie started making a little amends,
There were.
Yeah. So
Yeah, those tears that Reggie Jackson had in right field were real. You could tell that was not a show. Those are real tears.
and then again, you were talking about things that happened the day after he died. The Yankees were playing Baltimore.
That's right.
And who gets the game-winning hit? Drugs in 5 runs.
Bobby Mercer. That's right.
And so you
That's right.
mentioned Baltimore. I want to kind of jump in here. So
Please.
this is kind of the point of the show where I'd like to just kind of throw some fun little facts out there, some ballpark stuff, some Yankee stuff, and then I thought we would kind of end with some kind of fun discussion on all-time team. So first of all, those of as a Mets fan, the Yankees have 27 championships. As a Mets fan, we're right behind them with 25 more to go. But here's a really cool fact, okay? This is awesome. And so you mentioned the Orioles. The Yankees' most wins against any franchise is actually the Baltimore Orioles. But check this out. This is unheard of. The Yankees have a losing record against 0 of the other 29 major league teams. That's including, there's some that there might be like 12-10 against. I think I saw a crazy stat because, as you know, I think they played the Dodgers like 66 times total games in the postseason, but regular season, I think they only played them 18 times in history. But even against the Dodgers in regular season play, all 29 teams they have a winning record against. If that's not perfection, I don't know what is.
And
That's
one
just
fact I didn't know.
crazy. Yeah. And then another fun little fact too. So talk about the original Yankee Stadium, actually 1923, 2008, and then we have some fun because in the early 70s there was some renovations, so we call it Yankee Stadium 2. But in 1899, again a little bit before my time, but 1899, Thomas Edison started a cement company, and the cement that he developed was used to build the walls of Yankee Stadium, the original Yankee Stadium. So that I had to share that. That was awesome.
Whoa.
Again, a little bit before my time. I wasn't there, but that's what I was told. But before we kind of jump into some fun, just ending the chat here with some individual like all-time player list. any other stadium memories either of the two of you would like to share, whether it's Yankee Stadium 1, 2, or 3. Me personally, I'm a fan of 2 more than I am 3. Been to 3, been to 2, been to 2 a little bit more than 3. I just dig the vibe a lot better on Stadium 2. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I defer to Mike. I defer to Michael. I defer to our guest. I have not been to 3. I've been to 1 and 2, but go ahead.
I think each stadium for me has a memory that I won't forget. You know, I don't know if you can see this picture, how good it is. I don't know if can you see this picture? Am I holding it right?
No, you got to hold it up by your face, maybe, because I can't see it. Oh, there. Yeah, I see that. Nice.
So this is
Yep.
Mickey Mantle at the old stadium.
Oh, beautiful.
I was sitting, you know, I went down to close as I can get, and the usher's saying, you know, get back. So I said to him, hey, my friend of mine, I know it was his father. I said, just let me take a picture. Okay. So I'm yelling, Mickey, turn around. I want to take your picture. And he
Oh,
turned around and I took this picture.
how great is that? You got to send me that picture, a picture of that picture so we can get this on this podcast. That's
You know,
wild. Dude, I'm getting chills.
it was really amazing, you know. So
Wow, that's awesome. So thanks for sharing that. So
the
this is a fun little spot. So let's jump in a little bit
Wait,
as
hold
we
on.
end.
Wait, he's gonna say something else. Please finish. Continue.
Sure.
My apologies. Go ahead. Well, that or he just froze.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I tell you.
As Mets fans, we've been waiting since '86. We can wait
following
15
season.
seconds out. Okay.
We lost you there for about 30 seconds. So maybe you
Okay,
want
no, I was
to
saying when they opened up the new stadium, that was I think right after Reggie hit the 3 home runs. They came out with the Reggie bar, and they gave the Reggie bars out before the game, and the fans were throwing them on the field.
Absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned that. I have here's my image. The Yankees and used to give bat day, they gave away real bats.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and fun
Very good.
true story with that. Fun quick nugget to share. The last memory I have of going to the original Yankee Stadium went to a bat day. It was against the Minnesota Twins, and I'm on the subway back home, and I'm holding my bat. I was proud of this bat, and the guy next to me starts rubbing the bat very, very awkwardly, and I was a little bit terrified. I'm not gonna lie. I was with good company, so I got my bat back, but there was some awkwardness there. But I couldn't believe, like, I thought I was just gonna get this little play toy, and it was like a real thing. So,
boy, have things changed, right? And they
Subway.
gave it to you not when you were leaving. You held on to that thing the whole game, beer in one hand.
Yeah.
One thing. This is Michael. Michael, ask him about your food questions, right? In the stadiums.
oh yes, that was on there. What? Because I was that guy that wanted to try everything new, and then now as I'm getting a little bit older, I'm like, gotta have the hot dog, gotta have this. Actually, still never had Cracker Jacks at a baseball game, which blows my mind. But what are your go-tos at the Yankee stadiums in terms of a must-have?
I think chicken fingers and beer. That's my every stadium.
All right. And how are they, Yankee Stadium? Okay, they're good.
Yeah.
And you mentioned chicken fingers, and just a little fun little fact. Those of you parents out there know, like, I feel like and this may seem like coming out of left field, but to me, when your child moves on from chicken fingers or chicken tenders to something else, that's when they become a man, or that's when they grow up a little bit. I feel like all of a sudden they're 13 or 14 and they're like, I'm gonna get a burger. And it blows your mind. Like, it's always chicken tenders. You can go to a Mexican restaurant, chicken tenders, but when they order something else from the big boy menu, then you know that they're on their way.
Absolutely. So now, did the Yankees in Stadium 1, Stadium 2, certainly not in Stadium 3, there was a couple of years when I forget the name of the people that were running the concessions pretty much everywhere.
Oh yeah.
They had those cups that the drink used to disintegrate. Stevens, right. You used to have to drink your beer quick or your soda quick because the cup started to almost disintegrate.
Yeah.
So, did you have that at Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, probably. You know.
How weird was it going to Shea Stadium to see a home Yankee game?
Yeah, that was kind of. I went to a game once. I think Bobby Mercer was playing because I think he hadn't hit a home run at Shea at the time, and I had gotten tickets, but for some reason I ended up with four. I got four tickets, but two different sections. So me and my son sat down by the third best baseline, and my wife and daughter were like in the mezzanine. So we sat there for. Then we went up, and we were sitting next to them. Some guy behind it, he was in front of a few rows. He goes, "Those ain't your seats. You have to move." I said, "I'll just be here for a few innings." "No, you have to move." Right? I said, "What are you, retired usher? What the hell's the difference?" And finally, one of the ushers came up, a big guy. So I told him, "Look, I have tickets for down here, but my wife." He says, "All right, yeah, sit over here." So he, back a few rows, and I'm waving to the guy, and then like all of a sudden, Mercer hits a home run, and forget it, everyone went crazy. But yeah, that was strange playing at Shea Stadium, and I know Bobby Mercer hated Shea Stadium.
Yeah, I
So that's like actually, if you want to count four stadiums, you can throw that in.
That's right. You count that as a four stadium, right? Or as a little asterisk stadium.
Yeah. Speaking of stadiums too, I'm going to be going on. Speaking of Yankees and Mets, I'm going to be going this Thursday. So as we're recording this right now, it's Sunday the 14th. This coming Thursday, the 18th, our church softball team going to be taking them to Port St. Lucie to see the St. Lucie Mets play the Tampa Tarpoons. Apparently, the Yankees are no longer the Yankees in Tampa. Now they're the Tarpons or the Tarpoons. But we'll be seeing that on Thursday. So looking forward to that.
How many stadiums have you been to?
Myself, it's only so I'm hoping as I get a little older, I can start knocking some of these out. But for me, it's just been Tampa, Miami, Shea, Old Yankee Stadium, New Yankee Stadium, and Citi Field. So actually only 6 professional for me. Spring training, I've got about 80% of those in the Florida. I haven't been to Arizona, about 80% of the Florida stadiums I've been to.
And you got Fenway coming up this year. You got
Fenway coming up very soon, hopefully May, June, looking at some stuff. So hopefully that pans out. I'm sure it will. Looking forward to that. That's like top 5 for me. I mean, is Fenway, of course, closer to the top of that list. So what I like to end with, if you guys are cool with that, is I'm going to throw a position out there. And if you guys can, I'm going to give you 3 or 4 names. And if you can just kind of spit out who your guy is at that position. Okay. I thought this is always kind of fun to do that. Some teams, it's not as fun because there's like one guy that was like the dude. But with the Yankees, of course, most of the positions. And again, so this is from the 50s on. So I'm not including anyone prior to that. So let's start with second base. If I gave you the choices between Robinson Cano, Willie Randolph, or Billy Martin, who's your guy?
I know Cano is better, but I have to go with, and I was never really a Billy Martin fan. Willie Randolph.
Willie Randolph.
Yeah, yep. Willie Randolph. The defense was there. On base percentage, runs scored, led in so many different categories. Yep. Agree there. So here's a fun one. So now let's go to center field for a second. So I think the obvious one, obviously, we got Mickey Mantle at the top of that list. No surprise there. But if we're going number 2, let's shift this one to number 2. If my 3 choices for you are Bobby Mercer, Curtis Granderson, or Bernie Williams. Did not include Ricky Henderson because length of time was very short. So Mercer, Williams, Granderson. Who do you got?
Love it. It's tough. Good question.
I'd have to say Bernie, only because they won so many World Series.
Yeah, Bernie baseball.
Bernie baseball. Yeah.
But that's a tough one.
Yeah,
it is. It is tough
because Bobby played for some bad teams, and he was the only guy that was any good.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to do a few more positions here, but I don't think the 5 names I'm about to share, I don't think there'll ever be a 5 in a list discussion more even than the 5 names I'm going to mention to you in right field. This is just blows my mind. You got right field. I'm going to give you 5 names here instead of 3, even though one of them's still playing. But we've got Reggie Jackson, Roger Maris, Dave Winfield, Paul O'Neill, Aaron Judge. Good Lord. How do you pick that? For me, I haven't said yet. I'm going to go with Paul O'Neill in this one, but I'll let you guys go from there.
I like Judge.
You
Future.
like Judge? Yeah. Oh yeah, I think 5 years from now, the same conversation. Judge probably has it, but
And
for me,
Paul,
yeah.
Paul O'Neill, like an incident happened that turned me off of Paul O'Neill. We went to a road game in Cleveland, me and my son. So after the game, we got to go right down behind the Yankee dugout. So all the players were going in the dugout. He comes out of the dugout waiting for his son, right? Hey, Paul, great game. He home run that night, the Yankees won. Great game, huh? He just gave me that stone cold Paul O'Neill face. Wouldn't say nothing, you know. That pissed me off.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame. No, this was at the new park, right? This wasn't at the Mistake by the Lake.
In Cleveland, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
At
Excellent.
Jacobs Field.
Jacobs Field, that's it.
That's
Hey,
it.
Michael, would you share with Mike? Would you share with Michael the story that our guest told us that happened at Jacob Field? Who was the catcher for the strike Mets? He hits the big double off the wall. Share.
Oh yes. So back in the strike year, so he is basically just his name was Doug Ruppel, and he was basically reporting to spring training as a bullpen catcher. Finally got an opportunity to possibly make the major league as a replacement player for the New York Mets. So he has a game. He's actually from Cleveland, and his first game he's in, he's playing he's playing the Cleveland Indians, sorry, Guardians.
Right. Yep.
And so he's up to bat, and he gets a double off the left field wall. He gets to second base. The crowd goes nuts. He's thinking in his mind that I'm from Cleveland. They may know that. They're supporting me. So he kind of tips the hat and, you know, smiles and everything. All of a sudden, second baseman comes over to him, or might have been shortstop, comes over. Hey, dummy, look at the scoreboard. They're not cheering for you. So he turns around and he looks at the scoreboard, and the strike has officially been lifted at that exact moment.
Oh, God.
Right. Ruining his moment. Whoever made that call, that was the opportunity to post that on there. Couldn't have waited between innings, had to hit the trigger button. So poor guy, first base hit ruined. But that's a fun story. I mean, it would have been
great.
What was great was that he told us that, you know, in the dugout after the game, they basically said, "Go home, guys. Just go home."
Yeah, because if they would have made it through that ninth inning completion, they would have guaranteed contracts for the very next day. It was that close. So, oof. Yeah. And he also shared that I think the first pitcher he caught, his assignment was, hey, go catch Randy Johnson over there. So
it was a great interview. Good guy.
Yeah. Really good guy. So let's end with one more position. We don't need to hit them all, but let's go to starting rotation. I'm going to give you my top 5, and then just go ahead and throw a name out there that I'm forgetting. Some of the names that I didn't include in mine is because longevity. So I'm going with, this is my rotation. I'm going with Whitey Ford, Ron Guidry, Andy Pettitte, Mel Stottlemyre, CC Sabathia. I know there's some big names out there I didn't mention. Those are my 5. Who am I forgetting foolishly, or do you agree with that?
You know, I like Pettitte because he's a big game pitcher. Even though Whitey Ford, I grew up with Whitey Ford, but I like to go a little newer, like 60s is so far back. So I kind of like to do 70s, 80s. So Pettitte, Guidry. I guess we don't want to include Clemens, right?
You can if you want.
Not one of my favorite, but he was a good pitcher, you know, regardless what you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
David Wells.
That's the guy.
See, now if I'm not mistaken, I think he's less than 3 years service time with the Yankees.
Yeah.
I'm like,
but he threw a no-no with the Yankees. See, threw a no-no. So, you know.
Tough. Yeah. And then there's one guy, Orlando El Duque Hernandez, that guy can throw 200 innings in a game if you asked him to. So I mean, that's another one that, you know.
And you know, Mike Torres was no slouch. And remember this guy, Michael, Ed Figueroa. That guy. If you had a losing streak, he would lock you down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And of course, another big name out there, since the theme is Michael's on this show, Mike Mussina, another big name.
So good. David
leaving
Cohn.
him off was rough, but you know, and and
Mike
unfortunately
Torres?
there's some
Mike Torres, right.
Yeah. So Just so much rich history. Just it's insane when you sit there and look at all these positions and people over time. It's a lot of fun to have these talks.
It's funny because sometimes at night I'll do that. Let's see, my favorite first baseman, favorite second baseman. It's crazy. You know?
If I may kind of bring one thing up to the both of you. I still think it's a crime that Don Mattingly is not in the Hall of Fame. He had a run because he had a run. Now he did not get the chip. He did not get the World Series championships that Koufax did. But the truth is, Koufax got injured. He had 5 great years. Great years. Don't get me wrong. He should be in the Hall of Fame. But
I think what hurt him.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think what hurt him is his last 3 years. So people tend to look overall,
Right.
Yeah, well, and absolutely. And we the very first guest we had on the show, Paul Holden from the Locked On Rockies podcast. And when the initial news came out that Todd Helton was elected into the Hall of Fame, at first I was like nails on a chalkboard, but then I kind of sat back. I was like, you know what? Okay. But then as I'm preparing for the Yankees today, I'm like, wait a minute. Don Mattingly not in, Helton. I'm fine with both in, or I might have not been initially. I'm more lenient towards the Helton than, not that Joe Mauer doesn't deserve it. It's just I'm more of a Helton guy than a Mauer guy in terms of who really should be in right now. But absolutely, Darren, Mattingly should definitely be in there, and hopefully that will happen. But
I think some of these new stats, WAR and all these other stats, help players get in. Where in the past, maybe not. Now people tend to look back. Wait, this guy's WAR. He retired for 10 years. Like Helton, he's retired a while before he got in. Oh, wait a minute, his WAR was higher than some of the guys that are in. Now we got to put him in. How many times have you guys been to the Hall of Fame?
I haven't.
Oh, wow.
Which is a shame for me. I haven't.
Yeah.
I did get to nowhere near that. I went to St. Louis and was able to go. They actually have like a Cardinals Hall of Fame out there because we went and the Cardinals were on the road at the time, so I couldn't see a game, but I got to do that. And that was kind of cool. I got to sit in the booth, do some pretend, game calling and stuff like that. That was a lot of fun, but that'll be on the bucket list for sure. So
I went to Cleveland, like I said, a few years ago. What's nice about Cleveland, because you got the Football Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You got to go to a game, so that was pretty cool.
Yes.
Did you try Skyline Chili?
What was that?
Did you try the Skyline Chili?
No.
It's kind of known for Cincinnati, but you can get it in Cleveland as well. So I had to go. It was delicious. It looks like crap, but it's delicious.
And speaking of that, let's end with the it's a Mets drink. We've talked about this. We plug this drink a lot on the show, but RC Cola, yay or nay?
I don't drink cola, so I'm not a cola person.
So hold on a second. Let's unpack that. The Yankees were Pepsi or Coke? Do you remember? Yeah, I'm trying to remember. They weren't Shasta. I knew that. They were. I think they were Pepsi, but I'm not sure. They could have been Coke. No, that's good. Michael, bring us home.
All right. Well,
one thing about different ballparks, it may be cheaper to go to a game in a different stadium, but the food prices are the same no matter where you go.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Yeah. The word combo or special is used way too loosely nowadays. To me, like when I hear combo, I think, let's say chicken tenders, for example, fries, drink, and tenders. No. Chicken tenders combo is 3 baby-sized tenders, a couple fries for $27.99, and the drink is another $12. So sometimes you want to bring the whole family. I love bringing my wife. Like she's absolutely great to bring the games with. But sometimes you bring like a lot of people, and you're like, oh, let me treat them to the ticket and this and that. But then they want the Dippin' Dots, and they want the pretzel, and they want the frozen lemonade that's just going to make you thirsty 5 minutes later. And it's like, okay, so they might get you in with that cheap price, but then concession will do you in for sure, especially at the movie theaters. But thank you, Michael, so much for coming on with us again.
I appreciate being on. It was great.
It was a great time. And any final thoughts you'd just like to share with the
Just
Yankees, about the Yankees, or pretty much covered it?
hopefully, you know, I'll get to a couple of games. One thing that I noticed, I get offers from the Yankees for tickets where they're pretty reasonable. You know, people, it's so much to go to a game, but you know, buy one, get one half off. So, and you know, you can stay away from parking and food.
Which you can, right? I mean, you know, you can make it happen. Park somewhere and take the train in.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
wonderful.
I don't know if, except for last year when I went to a game, I drove from Delaware to the stadium. I met my son and his friends. Great game. I think they played the Cubs. After the game, okay, jump on a Deegan, and that's it. But they had all the roads closed off.
Oh,
Absolutely,
GPS
yeah.
kept telling me, make a right, make no. I think I drove through like South Bronx almost to get onto the George Washington Bridge. Took me forever. But
Yeah. But yep. Well, thanks again, Michael. Thanks again to Christopher Bennett, National Tax Solutions. Thanks again, Michael.
yes,
It was a great conversation.
Thank
As a
you.
Mets fan, it's not easy for me to talk Yankees baseball, but
I'd
this
appreciate
was
it.
a smooth, this time flew by. So I definitely appreciate the conversation.
But,
And
hey,
I'd love to see where they're at a couple months from now. Like Darren said earlier, sky's the limit. If they can stay healthy, especially Giancarlo Stanton, big things come in, potentially championship number 28. Thanks again, Michael, once again.
Okay.
And until next
Thank you.
time, we'll see you around the ballpark.
Thank